Welcome, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. Shout out Knicks Streets, Knicks Nation. Shout out to Replay Gang. How's everybody feeling? As the New York Knicks took two tough losses, wasn't able to go and do post game, but tonight we're here to talk about the direction moving ahead for the rest of this season. What's on offer to improve this team? Depending on how all in you want to do. We'll talk about some of the latest news, the buzz going around with these names available, and we'll look at the road ahead with Atlanta coming in, well, us coming into Atlanta tomorrow on Friday night Knicks. That's going to be a huge game. And salute to the chat. Salute Replay Gang. Let's go. Big task. Salute. How we feeling? How we feeling, right? Trade season buzzing right now, just past the halfway point. We've got all-star news to talk about. Jalen Brunson, not in the top 10 as well. What do you think of that? Julius Randle coming in at 9th in the voting. Then Prometheus, length shot making. Yep, we'll be talking about all of that tonight. Facts. I'll be giving you my thoughts on what I think this club should be doing right now. Dirty Dancer. Appreciate you. I don't really see how we could salvage the year without mortgaging too much of the future. Probably just stand pat. I agree with a lot of what you said, but also, trying to put myself in Leon Rose's position as well, as the New York Knicks are still 4 games over 500 and in a excellent position to try to make something more of the season, if that's the way they would like to go. But of course, the tough schedule's about to come up. We're around the corner now from these national games, from Brooklyn, Boston, and LA coming up. And the New York Knicks schedule is getting tougher. The players are getting gassed. I agree with most of what's been said over the last few days with the performance against Washington and just how flat the Knicks looked, and whether you want to make a major move or a minor move, I think we all agree that the bench is definitely that area where you have to make some move right now. It's no ifs or buts about it. Reggie Bullock, familiar face. And that is something to talk about tonight. Tom Thibodeau, how much input is he going to have on this situation in terms of getting back some of these faces that he wants? Buzzer, salute. Geraldine, salute. Lee Phillips, how we doing? Obviously, the $1 million question is, right, as I mentioned, the Knicks are 4 games over 500 now, 25 and 21. We all know the schedule's getting tougher. Mitchell Robinson out for 4 weeks now, in a huge blow to our defensive stocks right now. So that raises another question mark. Hadn't really done any preparation on any moves relating to a big man. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that situation. Obviously, our immediate reaction is your Jericho Sims, much deserving, as we've been talking about all season long, very deserving of minutes. Would like to think that he would get the bulk of the minutes. Julius Randle getting some minutes at the 5 as well. Obi, does this mean that any potential, trades that they don't like for Obi mean that they're more happy to keep him for the rest of the season in terms of us needing some extra, size, some extra big men at the 4 if Julius is playing some 5-some? We all expect Hartenstein to probably still get more minutes as well in this absence, but it's going to be fascinating to see how the New York Knicks defense can hold up, fam. We all know how critical Mitch is to Tom Thibodeau's scheme, rim protection, and clogging the paint, etc. as well. Also, do we look to try and exploit some matchups? Small ball. I think that could be beneficial from a standpoint where we could be more nimble, moving around the court, closing out some. We all know Mitch, ain't the best player to be out there, closing out small ball lineups. That's something I would like to see in this, in this sample size. with Randle and RJ, their defense is critical. Everyone as well, like you highlighted, Dirty, in terms of the Knicks' ability to defend as a team, they're going to have to be in sync more than ever, because Mitch would make up for a lot of blow-bys, like you highlight. A lot of dudes getting cooked off the perimeter, off the dribble. We're not going to have that right at this moment in time, so it remains to be seen. I mean, it's such a tough part of the schedule now, but we see what we're made of. It is what it is. All of these teams we've been beaten on. Most of them have been dealing with some sort of injury. The Knicks have had RJ out for stretches. The Knicks have had Obi out for stretches. The Knicks have had Mitch out for a small stretch as well. And now, 4 weeks, that's huge. That's 15, 20 games at least. So obviously, I think our defensive numbers will drop. Can our offensive numbers pick up? I try and look at the glass half full, half empty, both sides with that situation, because nothing's perfect. Mitch is elite at what he does in some areas of the game. In some areas he gives up. Like the free throw shooting is still inexcusable. I'm always trying to think about what the Knicks' success would look like, or what they would look like in the playoffs. Mitchell Robinson, you're lucky if he splits his free throws 50%. How is he able to stay on the floor in a critical playoff game down the stretch as well? So maybe we take advantage and we bring in more shooting, in this meantime. But certainly we're dearly going to miss Mitch's, rim protection. He's rebounding elite at what he does. Elite at what he does. And also agree with your second point, Dirty, in terms of there's just been an overall drop off in intensity, and two of the guys that were catalysts to the New York Knicks defense changing their season around, Grimes and Deuce, haven't been great. Fam. And also we've been tested, obviously, with length. Washington's length with KP, salute. Kuzma, salute. Advida, and etc. Those guys got length. They gave us trouble. But it's nothing we didn't already know. Even if it's not length, teams like the Heat, teams that with the ability to blitz really well, guys that can defend, teams that can defend really well with 5 men on a string and trap, blitz, all of that stuff usually gives the Knicks trouble as well. And that's why I've got some names I'd like to highlight for some more playmakers off the bench, because I've got some ideas I want to share with Emmanuel quickly. I think with Deuce McBride, obviously the one that's the key weakness offensively, IQ's had to pick up a lot of playmaking and a lot of scoring, and he has to set guys up. Sims can't provide offense without being set up. Obi can't provide offense without getting set up. Hartenstein can't provide any offense as well. So I think we're relying so much on Emmanuel quickly that he can't quite play his natural game. And whilst he's really improved as a facilitator and a defender, right now IQ's bread and butter is scoring, playing on instincts, getting the scoreboard ticking over, off the bench. So there's a couple of backup ones I'll suggest tonight, which the Knicks could look into. Some savvy veterans, some guys that can defend, some guys that can relieve the pressure as well. Some battle-hardened, playoff-tested guys that I think might be surplus on the teams that they're on, because I think that's key as well. Emmanuel quickly having to do too much right now. But salute to him. It's been a successful season so far in my eyes. Before we start diving in more into the nitty-gritty, I will say this, in terms of what the Knicks should do, in my opinion, is, obviously look how much they can upgrade this team with any move that makes sense for the future longevity of this team. Don't get short-sighted. We're ahead of schedule. We're headed most likely for a play-in, play-off, first round, second round exit. it is what it is, but we've made strides. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's getting closer to that championship. But having said that, if something really makes sense for the long term of this organization, something that can help us now and in the future, in terms of salary-wise, with the direction and philosophy of the team, if that makes sense, then do it. You know, we might have to say goodbye to some of the beloved, Knicks if it makes sense. But obviously the cap, the tax that the team's currently paying and some of the salary coming off, is going to play a huge part with this situation. There's some free agents to come. There's some big names that we'll talk about that, are in limbo with their current teams, and they're going to want extensions. They're going to want significant commitment. Kyle Kuzma being one of them, and Zach LaVine comes with a huge commitment already. So, if you're making a big move for those guys, you're already deciding that, hey, we're not far away. We think these guys can push us into that next tier of teams in the East, right? Because you have to believe that. OG Anunoby, Kuzma, and Zach LaVine, three of the biggest names, as Almighty B. Willis, salute in the house. Cameron, salute. Jet Life, salute. Yeah, it was all these big names. They're definitely going to improve this team. It's about, have you decided how close we are, and are you good with our cap situation? Leon Rose got a lot of voices to listen to in terms of Brock Aller, Scott Perry, Worldwide West. They're all going to have their say with this situation, and boy, is that war room going to get crazy as we get closer and closer. One thing we always start with, we start hearing these reports, right, of this team is seeking this, right? It's a bunch of BS, right? They're always going to start as high as they possibly can. For example, Toronto Raptors per se are expecting to get back 2 first-round picks for OG Anunoby and this guy and another young piece. Of course they're going to leak that stuff out, right? The closer we get to the trade deadline, you really start to see what's smoke, what's fire, and how willing are they to really want to move on from those guys. A lot of it is just putting feelers out there, just to see what some of these other teams, might be willing to put up on the table, and also see how the crowd, how the media reacts, how the fan base reacts. Things change daily. This whole thing's fluid. This is kind of like my first primer, part 1, as this trade season's, still got ways to go. But for example, we heard Miami Heat, all season long would love to get off of Kyle Lowry. They're underachieving. Today, we hear a report that they want to keep Kyle Lowry now, that they're, think they can make a run, all of that stuff. So there really is a lot of smoke out there. And closer to the deadline, we're going to see, what was BS, who was really willing to move on from what, maybe the Knicks not even willing to want to give up Obi. But we continue to hear these reports or opinions from the fan base saying, it's time to move on from Obi, etc. And I can understand that from all of the fan base, because it's not looking great right now for Obi Toppin and his role with the New York Knicks. But on the other side, the front office might be cool with it. They might be okay keeping him. So we'll talk about that more. Trip more, salute. Let's go. Yeah, Dallas, they've got a lot of teams with that situation. We've got Miami, Washington, Toronto. They're on the fringes, fam. And right now, we're just past the halfway point. Some teams are sliding. Some teams are ascending. And they're definitely looking at what's out there. But Dallas are in a tough spot. I think the Knicks are in a really tough spot too, which is why I think we shouldn't get too short-sighted with this season. To recap my thoughts, I've got some solid suggestions to make in terms of what's going to improve this team for now, but it's not going to hamstring us for future flexibility as well. And the 3 key names, the bigger names that we're hearing that are very available, Zach LaVine, Kyle Kuzma, talk about Washington, whether they're going to meet his asking price. That's basically key. Even if they did, I don't think, and all the talk we're hearing is that Kyle Kuzma, wants to explore his options. He may not feel settled in Washington, and he might want to look elsewhere. Where the grass is greener with that situation. Also, role fit, all of that plays a huge part. The New York Knicks definitely do have a nice shiny spot at the 3 for Kyle, and I certainly understand all the fan base that feel the same way. That Kuz would fit well into this team, would give us a nice big boost, big upgrade. As we saw, he torched us the last 2 outings. B. Willis says, with the bench, does it make sense to make the playoffs? I think we've decided our direction. I understand your question, B, 100%. I was cool with this season, regardless of wins and losses. It was about the development for me. What could we take from this season and have it as a positive to move ahead with some of these young guys? Grimes has certainly shown a lot of improvement. Quickly has. They're keepers for me. Sims has shown a lot of improvement. He's a keeper. Deuce McBride's shown he can be a keeper as well, although we do know his shortcomings now. He's probably best situational if we're keeping it a buck. And certainly there's going to be a situation where Deuce McBride's most likely going to lose his spot because we're just a matter of circumstance right now. We're 4 games over. It's hard to turn the cheek and go the other way. They've decided that this is the season they're going to go for that playoff push. I think it's going to be fascinating to see how far they go in terms of setting up our future cap space situation, flexibility. And whilst we have exceeded many people's expectations, the fact is we are still headed for that late playoff, early play-in, situation. So there's a very big likeliness that we are going to flame out as well, right? None of these names really get us into the Milwaukee, Philly, Celtics, and Brooklyn conversation at this point in time, in my opinion. They can get us close, but if we're thinking about a 7-game series, it's going to be really tough now with Mitch out as well. With Mitch out for 4 weeks, that changes a lot of things prior to this show. Obviously, we just heard this news tonight, so we're reacting in real time to everything going on. Do the Knicks look to try to bring in a backup big man? I would find that surprising. I think in Tom Thibodeau's eyes, he'd probably be okay with giving more minutes to Hartenstein, Randle at the 5, and Sims as well. But I guess it just depends on how they feel Mitch can recover from this thing. How quick. Maybe he does recover in 3, and he misses no more than 4. Let's see. Yeah, with the schedule, it's tough. The Knicks are dialed in up to the 11th in the regular season. Geraldine says Mitch is out for at least 3. Yeah, we're not making the play-in, let alone the playoffs. You hope you're wrong, but you just don't see it. It's a huge blow, no doubt. I think our best chance is to play big stretches as a small ball. Our defense is going to take a hit, but our scoring can definitely go up. Jericho Sims can certainly step up with minutes. I do have concerns over, his ability to stay out of foul trouble. Of course, we know Hartenstein can't stay out of foul trouble either. So that's a huge thing. Cameron says not acceptable for me or the Knicks to not make the playoffs or play in. It would be a huge drop-off for me. Given where we're at, it'd be a failure, I think, where we've set ourselves up to be. I do think a playoff play-in thing is still going to help us evaluate Randle, RJ, Brunson. Even if we did get knocked out in the first round, play-in, playoff, there's still some positives to draw from the season. I don't think it would be a total failure, but the Knicks can take a lot of experience from a playoff push. Like I said, it gives us another opportunity to evaluate whether some of these core guys are, are the right mix for each other, are heading in. But it ain't like Mitch is going to miss, 3 months. It ain't like he's going to miss 4 months, 3-4 weeks. It's like 15, 20 games. He'll be back with significant time to spare for the season. We just got to hold it down, in the meantime. Yeah, we did decimate some of the bench to get Brunson up in here. Alec Burks being the key one. Buzzer's big on Dwight Howard. I think, he's balling out there in Taiwan. Wouldn't be against another backup move. Not sure if Dwight's the right guy. I'd like to get a younger dude, but, where we're at, rebounding's still been a big issue. Yep. Peter, salute. No reason to get Bullock. He's worse than he was before. Yep. He's definitely having a down year, fam. Definitely. Mets, Knicks, salute. Whatever move we do make, I think JB, IQ, Grimes, JR for now. Yeah, how we build off of that and how do we get better? Yep, nice take. I agree. Yep. Continue to rely on IQ. Like I suggested earlier, we got to get another ball handler that can relieve some of IQ's duties off the bench so he can focus on scoring as well. IQ can be dangerous as that just straight up scorer as well. Of course, we got to address the minute situation too, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Knicks team, they're gassed right now, right? It's clear to see. Obviously, we're inching closer to the All-Star break. That's going to be much needed rest, all of that. But, the NBA didn't do us any favors. I'll start with that. Playing Detroit back-to-back with Toronto, having to fly and travel and play a matinee game on MLK Day. That was tough. No excuses, but the NBA did us real tough. So basically 3 and 4 nights was exactly what we saw this team, a reflection of on the court. Julius Randle wasn't himself. Jalen Brunson's just going to continue to get tired out. So, let's get some help up in here as well. Let's see what sort of minor moves and moves that do make sense. I'd love to get your opinions and thoughts on this situation. But I think at the least, Reggie Bullock, we'll start with some of the more concrete buzz we've heard lately. Mark Stein's report now, we've all heard. And we also know that the Knicks and the Dallas Mavericks are no stranger to doing deals, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how long it's going to continue for, but it seems like we're forever tied at the hip. Going back to, the days of Derek Harper and, KP getting traded, all of that stuff. And we're also hearing buzz that Luka Doncic not too happy with, the roster right now, which so he should not, He lost his sidekick. And yes, he's got some pieces, but that's just not enough. You have one of the best players in the league. You want to get that man some help as well. So there's reports that the Dallas Mavericks, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the LA Lakers are heavily interested in Cam Reddish, ladies and gentlemen. So Mark Stein, very credible report. We've heard Milwaukee's name all throughout this season, so that seems to be legit. LA, you can connect the dots. That seems legit too. They need size, they need some length. In actual fact, they need all the help they can get. Don't matter if your name's Cam Reddish or not. And Dallas Mavericks, obviously, I guess Reggie hasn't shot the ball really well for Dallas this season. They would probably value Cam Reddish's ability to put the ball on the floor, play make some, and relieve Luka. You got to give Luka a rest, otherwise you're stuffed with that situation. I think Cam Reddish would be a nice, cheap, easy move for Dallas. Quite factual fact. As we get closer to the deadline, we'll hear more names regarding Cam, because 2 second-round picks, if that's all it takes, that's a flyer for any playoff team that might need an extra body. 6'8", extra size, inconsistent shooter is Cam, but he can certainly finish on the break. He's athletic. He's another body that can defend. Like I said, you're Luka, you're the Mavs. You know you're playoff bound. You're LA. You hope you're playoff bound. With LeBron and Milwaukee, you know you're championship contention bound as well. So no surprise to hear those names. What do you guys think about those three teams? If you're, which we are most likely with this first move we're talking about, we're going to move on from the one, the only Cam Reddish with that situation, and we'll see what the best package we could get. In terms of LA, it looks like, some of the dudes I'll be willing to move on from would be Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn would be a name that would be reported to come back in one of these deals with Cam. Kendrick's picked things up lately. He's been injured a lot this season. He has had a few decent games as of late. I've checked his numbers. He could give you a bit of playmaking, a bit of tough defense, and a bit of scoring off the bench. Would he be an upgrade to Deuce McBride? I think he would as well. So that's a name I would be okay with bringing back in a Cam Reddish deal. Like I said, he would basically just bump Deuce McBride back to situational. Kendrick Nunn can be hot, can be cold, but his defense is pretty decent. I would say it's at least on par with Deuce McBride's defense, better. He's a veteran, more seasoned body. Size-wise, I think he's a bit taller, tougher, a bit grittier than Deuce, and better offense as well. Yeah. So with that said, I think Kendrick Nunn ain't anything that's going to set the world alight. But if it's a couple of second-round picks and Kendrick Nunn, that is something to watch for. If we get a better deal from somewhere else, we need to turn the other cheek. But that's something that the Lakers would be happy to probably give us offload. Bullock's final year is guaranteed for about half. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, the Lakers don't have many picks at all, Sam. Yep, exactly. Cameron says the problem is who's coming to the Knicks, right? Dolan's the owner. Yeah, I think Dolan has had a bad rap over the years, but he's stayed out of the way now. In terms of the free agency, I don't think that's going to play as big of a part as it was in the past. But let's see. But right now, we're looking to improve this team for this season, basically without mortgaging the future of this organization, right? Because again, we're trying to be realistic. This season was about young players developing. It was about our max guys showing that they're worth their contracts, which they have, and pieces we could build with. We got picks in the draft. We can continue to add great young talent in the draft coming up. So there's no need to take these couple of losses too seriously as of late. We're still on track for what the season's goal was as well, and we are going to have a good opportunity to bolster our bench. Bolster our bench, which is the main part of this situation right now. Improve our areas of weakness and add some flexibility. For me, the flexibility would be playmaking and scoring off the bench so that IQ can stick to his main role, which is lighting it up right now. Right now, Obi's useless with Sims and Hartenstein unless they can get set up, right? So you're asking IQ to score and set three other guys up and Deuce McBride to get any resemblance of offense. So, we're relying too much on IQ with that situation. It's no surprise his scoring has regressed a little bit. His scoring's going to regress because he's just been asked to do too much. Yep. So what I'll do is I'll pull this graphic up on screen right now. So these are some of the more affirmed names we've been hearing lately. And of course, we're early in the trade season and things change daily. Yeah, best believe that. But these are some of the concrete names. In terms of the 3s, 2s, and 1s that would address the needs of this team. We talked about with Cam and what he might bring back. There's talk that Milwaukee Bucks are interested. They're willing to part with Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen's a shooter, not a popular figure around the league by any means. He would definitely, give us some shooting off the bench, right? Hate him or love him, like his game, hate his game. He's a dude that would add some shooting off of this bench, right? As would Terrence Ross, Chris Duarte, Gary Trent Jr., Malik Beasley, and of course Zach LaVine, which is one of the probably the biggest name swirling this trade period. Under contract, Chicago's looking to shake things up. That's why you're hearing Zach LaVine's name. He's looking to shake some things up. They are looking to shake things up, right? Zach LaVine, they're definitely underachieving Chicago, and they're questioning, rightfully so, the fit between Vucevic, LaVine, and DeRozan. Zach LaVine on 200 and something mil. We know Chicago have been a victim of being a culprit of being cheap in the past. So that contract's bloated, man. DeMar DeRozan's aging. Yeah, Zach LaVine would be a huge trade if it went down in this part of the season, but it's certainly something that's worth watching. Malik Beasley, I like that name. That's another guy that could help us off the bench. Definitely the Knicks have been reportedly interested in the past, and I don't see anything like that changing. I think he is a guy that, again, could provide some size, some scoring in Deuce McBride's absence. Same with Gary Trent. Duarte would be a name to watch if any trade with Indy came to a fruition. Now, I was high on Duarte more last season. I've been hearing and I've watched some of his performances this season. He's been having a very, very down year as Duarte. Do you chalk some of that up to maybe Mathurin coming in, stealing his spot? You could probably, account some of that sophomore slump. But the issue is Duarte is 24, 25 years old. So he's an older player on his rookie contract. Something that could be appealing to the Knicks. Duarte does have one more year of cost control before his extension eligible. As of course, we know Obi Toppin's situation has come to a head right now. We have no more time left in terms of deciding what we need to do with him. If Duarte was a name coming back in a trade with Indy, he has one more year of cost control as well. But of course, to me, that would signal you've lost out on your draft pick with Obi, 8th overall. It was a loss. You could chalk that up to a loss for the New York Knicks, right? I never thought Chris Duarte would have the ceiling that an Obi Toppin would have in the league. They're looking like they're both going to, float around the league, at this point. Now, on that note, Dirty says, I think we are in a Randle type situation from last year with Obi, right? With his value being so low right now, and I don't think you can justify trading him. Yeah, that's my thoughts as well, fam. But I think with the contract situation, it's tough to know what to do right now because time's running out. Time's ran out. Essentially, what do you do? Make him try to take the qualifying offer and try to figure things out. The fact is his age is just crazy as well. That doesn't help the situation, right? One of the best assets of a young player you drafted is usually their age and their contract, right? Obi's contract's about to run up, and also he's not that young. On the older side of things, names like Frank Ntilikina and dudes like that are the same age as Obi right now. Just for context, Chris Duarte, same age as Obi as well. Any trade for Obi, especially to Indy, it doesn't make me feel good. about the situation at all. I'm not excited about moving him on. I'm not excited about bringing Duarte back. Like I said, I was higher on Duarte a year ago. This year, hasn't done anything worth watching. Would he add some potential help scoring off the bench? Definitely. Does he love the green light? Is he maybe the right guy for the market? Absolutely. From New York, Dominican Republic own. Stand up. I like the guy. Just hard for me to get excited about trading Obi for that. Like Dirty hit on, Obi's value just ain't where it needs to be. We botched the situation, certainly. I think he did have a decent start to the year, which is unfortunate. But Obi did get injured. I think missing time set his season back as well. It definitely really hurt his season, the momentum. And now Tom Thibodeau, not utilizing him to the best of his skill set. He's not in rhythm as well, which hurts because he can't get in rhythm, playing 8-9 minutes, standing in the corner as well. So, like Dirty says, we're stuck in a corner with Obi right now. Do you just cut your losses, or do you just keep him, bring him back into another full summer, bypass the extension, and risk, take the restricted free agency risk. With that said, it's ultimately got to be tied to what your decision is with Obi long term on the team, right? If your decision is to keep Randle, how are you possibly going to showcase Obi, in the first place? What are you going to be able to do? Yeah. E. Gibson, salute. Obi's, will be 25 in March next season, having 4 seasons in the league as well. It's hard to believe, Damn, time's flown. Yep. You can question what has he done to improve his skill set, actually earn minutes or impact games. Yeah, that's certainly a valid question. I'm not putting all the blame on Obi, and I think it's certainly a shared blame. Organization, Tom Thibodeau and Obi top down. Like I said, also a little bit of bad luck, sprinkled in. Randle becoming, an all-star 2 years ago. Obi having a decent start to the year this year and then getting injured. The three-point ball was falling. Also, maybe we had some better trades on the table a year ago, and maybe we said no. So we got to take ownership of that as well. As an organization, you need to manage assets, right? A lot of us as fans, we fall in love with certain players and we join hives and we want certain guys to succeed here. But that's our job. It's the job of the organization to have a plan, right? What is your plan with this guy long term? What is your path for this player to become what you want them to become? For example, Quentin Grimes, our plan was to have Quentin Grimes as the starter, groom him, blend him into the starting unit, have him become your starting 2 for the future as well. That was our plan all along when we drafted Quentin Grimes, right? The moment we drafted Obi Toppin, we had a plan at that particular moment in time. The plan was to have him as the future at the 4, all right? So the moment that plan changed, when Randle became an all-star and you gave him the bag, what did you do next? Your plan had to change. You needed to pivot, right? Also, at this point, Obi does need to get set up a lot. And I'll say this, I was very high on Obi being at the 5 spot some minutes, I don't think this gets said enough among the community, but of course the NBA game is very different to college. I completely understand that, but Obi's biggest success as college player of the year, right, in college was at the 5. That's a spot where he could utilize some of his biggest skill sets, which is being fast up and down the court, being able to stretch it some, being able to pass some, being able to put the ball on the floor. and also being able to, be a better defender in terms of stay in front of guys, Salute Keyshawn. How we feeling? Salute Charles. Salute Stephen up in the house. Let's go. Yep. I agree we do need to trade Obi as well as we ultimately get to that point, like Charles hits on, but also on the back of Dirty's point, his value's so low. It's like, what can you get for him, Leon Rose's first selection, you're basically just going to cut your losses, I think, and in a situation where it's going to not reflect well on the organization, like pulling a Band-Aid off, on a scar. We all hate to do it, but it gets to that point where you got to do it, and you've got to reap the repercussions, But yeah, very, very, very valid point as well. Completely agree with it, 100%, Charles. Right, he's not going nowhere. Randle's here for the stay. How is Obi going to increase his value playing 8 to 10 minutes? Maybe now is the chance with Mitch out, right? I also think with that situation, Leon Rose, he's the guy that's got to step up, fam. He's got to pound his fist on the table and at certain points command Tom Thibodeau do certain things as well, right? That's key because he's hurting trade value from some of your pieces, Yeah, with Obi, let's see what the market is, but it's not going to be great, fam. Like we said, most likely Chris Duarte, could we coerce something else out of Indy to come back in that trade? If they want, I don't know, Buddy Hield, they're probably going to have to give up a lot more. Obi and some. Do you try to use Obi to get off of Evan Fournier's salary? Is that one of your biggest aims in the deal? Get back some draft compensation. I think, Obi can still help this team for this season off the bench. So maybe it's not even worth, taking on anything, keeping him, see what happens. But, of course, he's one of the biggest names, Knicks streets, Knicks fan. We could expect Obi out of here this trade period or very, very soon if his minutes don't pick up right now. Yeah, we need better asset management. We have 50 mil tied up. Rose, Fournier, Hart. Yep, those issues fall on the front office right now. Yep, which is why we don't want to compound things. Like I said, compound things by capping us out. In terms of the bigger names, right? I think it'd be fascinating to see this team with Levine. I think it'd be fascinating to see the team with OG Anunoby and the help they could provide, right? It's tempting. It's definitely that T word, temptation is there. But realistically, you got to think, okay, what's the ceiling? What's the ceiling of the team with the salary that they would come with, or the trade that would look like with OG? With Kuz, the fact is maybe you could get a better deal because, Washington would have to be scared, of losing Kuz. Washington's looking like they might lose Kuz for nothing as well, unless they're willing to work out some kind of sign and trade. Yeah, with that. But yeah, completely agree with the asset management. Salute Jorge. Salute. How we doing? Yeah, the sad thing is Tibbs allowed Hart to run in the second unit offense. He might be okay. You're able to create some opportunities. Yep. That is huge for this season and where it's at. Tom Thibodeau is definitely riding the success of this season off the back of Brunson and Randle. Better play from Grimes. But in terms of, flexibility, wrinkles, offense, defense, it's very, very rigid. I think Tom Thibodeau's days are going to be numbered eventually. He's not bringing anything creative to the table, fam. Teams can work us out. We're seeing it. You know, let's keep it a buck. However far the Knicks go this season, it'll be off the back of Brandon and Randle and Brunson, and Grimes and Quickly and RJ's growth and what they can do. But it's not going to have a heck of a lot to do with Tom Thibodeau as well. I mean, he's letting them read and react, which is fine. That's his offense. His defensive schemes, it works well sometimes, and it also allows the other team to get hot sometimes as well. So, he's far from a genius in my eyes. He's a guy with these certain styles, and parts of against certain matchups, it works okay, works well. He requires Mitchell Robinson, to be that rim protector. He requires guys like Grimes and Deuce McBride and Quickly to stay up on their guy, avoid penetration. But when guys are gassed out, we're seeing the ugly side of Tom Thibodeau now, relying on guys too heavily right now. Which is, on that note, I want to touch on some guys who I think could help the Knicks at the 1 spot. I mentioned Deuce. He needs to be replaced in this rotation if the Knicks are serious about doing anything during this season in this tough stretch. Amazing what Deuce was able to help us with. Help change the season along. But essentially all he did was replace Fournier, give us better defense and less offense as well. So I do think Deuce McBride, a lot was made of it. Deuce, is a situation where he can defend really well on the perimeter, but he's outsized, a lot of the time. He's outsized, and I think offensively very, very, very challenged, which is hurting us right now. So with that in mind, Caruso, he's a big piece that is definitely on the block, could definitely be had. This team is lacking some toughness as well, right? We see dudes like Scotty Barnes, guys get in, chirp, Ja Morants of the world, everybody chirp at us, Dylan Brooks, Kuzma's, teams start feeling themselves. It's important that we do bring toughness, I think, if we're making any move right now, because I think this team does still lack some toughness. Caruso can handle the rock. He can make some. But the biggest skill set, he's not going to come in and light it up. He's going to bring defense, Caruso, but better offense than Deuce. Better playmaking, experience, all of that. Like I mentioned with the Kendrick Nunn move, again, better offense than Deuce McBride, brings more experience. For by any means, but if you're doing a deal with LA, you could probably expect a name like him to come, Test mic. All right, looks like we're back. Guys, let me know if you can hear me now. Are we good with the sound? We good? Yep, there we go. Appreciate you all. Let's go. Never a dull moment with this tech stuff, but yeah, appreciate everyone else rocking out with this situation, man. Appreciate you all for coming through. Talking about, the team's clear needs of improvement are there for everybody to see. Direction-wise, I think this front office has got to be somewhat content with some success that they've had this season, but I don't think they're satisfied as well. I don't think they're satisfied, and I do think they're going to feel some sort of temptation. Just how much remains to be seen. But the bigger names being Levine, Kuzma, OG, Malik, I think Malik Beasley, Mikal Bridges was the name I was searching for. I think the Phoenix Suns, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to really talk about them because that's a fascinating situation, right? We all know they've faced injuries. I think CP3 has seriously Father Time started to catch up to CP3. The Phoenix Suns in 10th seed, 2 games below. Let that sink in, fam. So look for them to be open for moving, like we've been hearing some talks coming out. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, I think DeAndre Ayton is a name. And of course, Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder's that guy sitting out right now that the whole league is waiting to see what's going to happen with Jay as well. Not the biggest fan of Jay the person, but like Dirty hits on, Jay Crowder for the cheap. We do have the draft picks that could help Phoenix. Maybe they're interested in Cam Reddish as well, which would be a nice like for like to help Phoenix with size, I think, fam. But definitely Phoenix are in a hole right now. Yep. Yeah, you'd bring that enforcer type situation or a dude that's going to get under the other team's skin with Jay. And I'm not mad at that. We haven't had a dude like that since Mook Morris. Whilst it does look like this team's playoff bound, if we do make it that far, you want to give yourself all that possible chance, right? We don't want to get swept. If we've already made the playoffs, we may as well make the best of it. 7-game series, it's going to get chippy. The officiating's been atrocious this season, right? They've lost control of certain games, in my opinion, just really unprofessional. The game against Toronto, like Tom Thibodeau had a right to say that nobody knew what was actually a foul. Nobody knew what wasn't a foul, right? The players got to be confused. So physicality is going to be big. That's going to pick up. And I do think the Knicks need toughness, which all these names at the one that I've got here on the screen with Caruso, Kendrick Nunn, and a veteran of Goran Dragic would bring extra toughness, experience to this team. Wouldn't hurt the team financially, and would just be a serviceable situational person. If we needed them or we didn't need them, they would be there. They would be there to help this team. Obviously, Caruso is the bigger name I would prefer out of any of these guys. Now we all know this team could do with some size as well. We heard, interestingly, for the first time, Rui Hachimura, which is a name that, with Washington's plethora of guys at the tweener size, with the 3-4, we have Kuz, we have Danny Avdija, and we have Hachimura as well. So it looks like one of them got to go. Hachimura wouldn't address any kind of shooting need, but defensively and some size, he would be a nice piece off the bench. I think if he could be had for cheap, that would be something worth exploring. Josh Green, another name if we're doing deals with Dallas. He's not getting all the opportunities that he may want. Josh Green is a name out there. He can dribble, he can play make some, and he can defend at the 3-2-3 spot. But Reggie Bullock's name, of course. How do we feel about that, guys? How do we feel about Reggie? With Grayson Allen, fam. Grayson Allen, the dirty player, the shooter from Milwaukee, is the name. Grayson Allen. Again, I'm not a fan of Grayson Allen. He's a guy that brings shooting. But the fact that Milwaukee are looking to upgrade his position, then he's bottom of the barrel. Basically, he's bottom of the barrel, fam. So, with that said, Malik Beasley's a name we could be had for the cheap. I would definitely be interested in a Gary Trent, see what that takes. Gary Trent Jr., if it's a protected first round pick owned by one of these other teams, that would get my interest. I think that should get Toronto's interest because they're not exactly in that position where they're in contention right now. Masai Ujiri loves assets as well. So you guys tell me what kind of names you like. Salute fam NYC up in the house. Begley just said Knicks are looking to fill in for Mitch with a trade. Not sure what 5 they'd trade. Maybe Drummond could be a name. Okay, that's interesting. Fam, yep. Like I said, this situation is very fluid. I'll keep an eye out on what's to come. But I was thinking before the show started, a 5 spot, a backup big man would be a prudent situation right now. 4 weeks without Mitch. Hartenstein, if he's, a situation where we're not using him much, he's not performing, we need to trade him as well. We could upgrade that spot, definitely. But what I'd like to see is Jericho get 20 plus minutes minimum, and I'd love to see us play small. And that's the way we've got to go right now. Get fast, get up and down, get more offense right now. Because what's Isaiah Hartenstein bringing us? If we're being completely honest, he's hurting us on the glass. He can't stay in front of his man. He's foul prone, and his biggest skill set is the playmaking and some of the little bit of shooting, which he hasn't been able to demonstrate so far. And it's not much, man. Yep, exactly right. Yep, it was a lot of hype. Unfortunately, man, it hasn't worked out. Plain and simply, the best thing is it hasn't hurt our future. It was a short-term signing, but what would hurt our future, fam, is playing him ahead of these other guys, that have a real future with this team. Yep. Mo Bamba's a great name, definitely. Maybe we could steal a Bol out of Orlando. Wendell Carter. But yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Mo wants to come back home. I think that's been out there for a minute. All-round game, shot blocking, length, size, rebounding, and 3-point shooting as well. Yeah, let's explore that. I hate to bring this name up again, but Miles Turner is a name where, until Indiana really extend him and decide what they're going to do, his name's going to be all up in this trade buzz, ladies and gentlemen, as reports, from the New York Post and other outlets. Last trade deadline, the New York Knicks were very close. From what I heard, the Knicks were very close to trading for Miles Turner. They kind of pulled away at the last minute. Yet, with that said, they were a little bit worried about the injury situation, right? I love Taj. He could definitely help us in some playoff run. But let's get younger, fam. Frank Martos, let's go. Salute. Smash that like button because the trade season's buzzing. How we doing, fam? Everyone out here rocking tonight. Big game tomorrow in ATL. We'll talk about that some. But right now, the Knicks need toughness. Basically, we need playmaking, some shooting, and some toughness overall. Now, we may not find one player that addresses all of them, but there are different pieces that can address them. Like I said, at the 1, 2, 3 spot, now at the 5 spot as well. Cam Reddish's name is definitely the big one, that's going to be outgoing with the New York Knicks. And incoming is most likely a couple second-round picks and maybe a rotational piece, if we're lucky. And again, that's all because of Tibbs and the organization's reluctance to play Cam, unfortunately. It's very, very disappointing, to couple second-round picks for a team that doesn't value, those roster spots very often with development. Not sure what the Knicks hope to get out of that, situation. I think we would have been honestly better off playing Cam. I'm not the biggest Cam fan, but he could definitely help this team in spot minutes, and he should have been playing all along. He definitely should have been playing. 6'8" length, size, helping us with the fast break. Yep, and I was thinking that too. Took the words out of my mouth. The Charlotte pick, the heavily protected pick we gave away for Cam and Dennis Smith Jr. was in fact, or Kevin Knox, sorry. Dennis Smith Jr. was in the Rose trade. Yeah, it was Knox. It's most likely to end up in 2 seconds, which is crazy. At the end of the day, we lost on that trade. I'm going to say it. Even though we didn't lose a lot, we still lost. We did the whole trade with the sole purpose of getting Cam Reddish in here to help us and see what he could help with, and keep him, play him, and boost his value ultimately. What we've done is the complete opposite. We haven't played him. We've, ostracized him the moment things weren't working out well. He had a couple of bad games defensively, but that's just not the way I would coach a squad, You got to coach with all your guys, keep them all engaged, keep them locked in, To just start DNPing is tough right now. It's just real tough. With that said, fam, what do you guys think about the possibility of Kyle Kuzma, Levine, OG getting moved? I would have, at the top of those three, I would put OG at the very top, Kuzma second, Levine third. The possibility of Reggie Bullock getting moved is very high. Bullock coming in here for what? That trade doesn't excite me at all, especially if you're, if they're looking for Cam Reddish. If you're just getting back Reggie Bullock, again, that doesn't really excite me at all. But I guess, for what they're trying to achieve this season with a shooter and a defender off the bench, he would definitely, fit into the rotation and take Evan Fournier's spot. But again, you had the opportunity to re-sign Bullock, and you let him walk. If you trade for him again, to me, that doesn't reflect well. You've made certain decisions, and you're trying to go back now. With Alec Burks, I understand they did it with the intention of freeing up cap space. That was different. To get the Brunson move through, we had to get out of Alec Burks as well. So I understand that situation. The most frustrating thing is Alec Burks would help this team right now immediately with exactly what we need. Stanley, salute. What's good? Whitehart and Cam are both good players, but Tibbs is a terrible coach, doesn't use them correctly. Whitehart's good passer, excellent, and can stretch the floor. Cam is very good in the open floor. Yep. Yeah, they do have various skill sets that can, be accentuated and utilized like Obi does as well. Unfortunately, Tom Thibodeau is so rigid that he likes his certain guys. What it is also on the front office, It's on this front office to get those right guys. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing this for? Apparently, Bullock's picked things up. That'd be interesting. I've got to check that out. I haven't seen him lately. He's always been streaky, fam, which is frustrating as well. Some nights he looks great, hits 3 or 4 threes, then he goes missing. But it is what it is for a role player. For the Knicks, defensively, could stroke it a little. He would help us off the bench in terms of if IQ's playmaking. He could help Reggie get set up. The issue we have right now is, as we know, Deuce ain't a shooter, and Jericho, Obi struggling, and Hartenstein ain't shooters as well. So I think when the starters hit the bench, right, we struggle right now. We give up whatever lead we have, or we let the other team come back. Right now, we need a dude with experience, like I said, playing next to Quick, the playoffs are going to get tough. These matchups are going to get tough, right? A Caruso, Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic would help play make, help score a little, and add a little bit of toughness as well right now. They're not going to get shook in the moment. I saw some of the numbers. Yeah, Goran Dragic is, getting to the latter point of his career, right? He's a veteran minimum kind of dude. But the other night, he gave Chicago 9 points, 4 assists in 17 minutes, right? That's just not what we're getting from Deuce McBride. That's an upgrade. He's playoff tested, he's battle tested as well. And if you need him to handle the ball some, he's not going to get shook, right? I'd love Deuce McBride to give us 9 points, 4 assists in 17 minutes, but that just ain't happening right now. I'm not big on the Grayson Allen, Terrence Ross moves. That Duarte I could talk myself into because he's still younger. Not excited for him in an Obi deal though, because that's just a loss for what we invested in Obi. It's just a sad situation. Now Gary Trent, Malik Beasley, absolutely names the New York Knicks need to be zeroing in on, seeing what that's worth. If it means one of our protected firsts, one of the bad ones, that would definitely boost this need we have off the bench. Stanley says Tibbs actually has only a 6-man rotation, right? We lost another starter in Mitch, right? This doesn't bode well right now. It's gut check time, fam. No doubts about it. That situation, and you could see us finishing down in 10th. Of course, there's plenty of time for Washington, Toronto, the Heat to come up, and the Bulls potentially as well. If some of them decide to be buyers, let's see. But my honest prediction is, and what we do see is we see a couple of moves as well. Some of them could be significant, because I do think this front office is content with where we're at right now, but they're not satisfied. They're not satisfied, right? They see this East, they see the opportunity, and I think they're going to get tempted. That's just what I see right now. I think they're definitely going to get tempted, and they know that the schedule's getting tough right now, super tough right now. And I'll pull this road ahead up on screen as we see, right, 2 games on the road, ATL and Toronto, right? We just took an L to Toronto, right? They're going to be hungry to get us again. And then Cleveland, Boston, Brooklyn, LA right now, 4 games over 500. Season's been a success so far for me, but yeah, things are definitely going to change. Yeah, things are definitely going to change. With that said, the New York Knicks are playing their young players. There's been growth in some areas. We just need to continue. We need to see that through, and not bring in any of these pieces that are outside of, I think, Deuce McBride are going to take big opportunities away, right? It is what it is. We know we're going to finish playoff play in, and hopefully, have some nice success, but it's not likely. It's not likely with this squad, and we do need to keep our eyes on the future. The draft's coming up. There's some crazy talent wings available. We can address a lot of different needs coming into the draft in the summer as well. With where we're at with this season, let's just see it through with where we're at right now. But yeah, the rotation-wise, Stanley, it's struggling right now because Tibbs has gassed everyone out. Goes back to my point about Cam Reddish. He should have been playing all this time. Even if he wasn't a part of your future plans, there was a need. Backs against the wall with foul trouble, with injuries, dude's banged up. You couldn't find 10, 15 minutes for him. It's got personal. Basically, that's not a good look right now. It's not a good look. Keeping this thing personal with Tom. Yep, agreed. We shouldn't give up a lot of picks for older role players. Yep, 100%, fam. Yep. That's my thoughts on our direction for the rest of this season, right? Make a move for the future if it makes sense. Like, if you think a Kuzma, if you think a Levine is going to get us to that next tier, you better be sure, because it's going to hurt flexibility and you can't get short-sighted with that, fam. Just one name, but Spider Mitchell is going to be an unrestricted free agent, most likely at the end of next season, right? That's not long away, right? You tie up money with a Kuzma, you tie up money with Levine, and that puts you in a real tough situation with that. Where's a move like a Beasley, Gary Trent Jr., guy like maybe OG Anunoby with a less salary, might demand less, could still help us right now and in the future as well. Not the biggest fan of Hashimura because of the shooting. That's an issue. Josh Green, I would definitely take a flyer on Josh Green if Dallas is willing to send him back to us. That's a name I'd look out for as well. 6'6", has playmaking, offensive potential, and defensive potential as well. Duarte is more of a one-trick pony, like we know. Chris Duarte has had a down year. Still some upside with being on a rookie deal. That's a dude who you could convince yourself to take a chance on, for the rest of this season. Not much financial commitment as well. A guy like Terrence Ross, on the older side of things, if he could be had for real cheap, I would assume. But we've heard his name so many times. Who knows if that ever happens? Yet the free agency class is why they consider trading IQ. Right now, have 50 mil saved in cap room. Yep, that's one thing to watch out for in terms of their decision and direction, fam. With Randle, with Brunson and RJ, locked up, and Mitch, they've really got to make sure that extra big salary that they bring in with these other guys is a big enough move to get us to that next tier, right? Otherwise, there's no point, fam. We could be building through the draft. Yep. Especially with IQ's cost, like you hit on 16 mil. Yep. We'll go through the list when it gets closer, fam. This year's free agency ain't great. Next year's is much better. Spider Mitchell is definitely going to be one of them. Dunross, salute. Yeah, Tibbs does think this is kind of win now, right now. He's coaching for his job. Yep, facts. That's why we hope they don't do anything that hamstrings our future and our future flexibility. I mean, yes, we all want to see a winning team this year. We want upgrades to the bench, but we shouldn't get outrageous with this thing. We shouldn't get crazy with it right now and give up all these picks, because that eventually that Godfather deal might be our saving grace, to get a bona fide number one up in here as well. Whether it could be Booker, whether it could be Embiid, Paul George, someone of that Spider, someone of that level. And flexibility is really key right now because we're winning still. Let's not forget that, ladies and gents. We're still winning with the squad and the young players we have. We just shouldn't force it, We'll let these wins come organically, and if we go south, we go south, We fall into the lottery, there's positives that way as well. Now, the most frustrating thing as of right now today is the Mitchell Robinson situation, because we won't really get to see this team's true direction, true path that they were on before Mitch went down. And I think it's a situation where we're going to see things that we weren't going to do. We're going to see different looks now. We have to. Randle at the 5. I hope they play Obi and Randle together more as well. Wishful thinking. But I hope that happens more as well, fam. Hartenstein, I hope they limit his minutes eventually. But with Mitch out, that's even less likely, if we're keeping it a buck. He mentions the CAA ties. I think this trade deadline is also going to give us another glimpse into the front office dealings. This is the third year for this regime. And the last 2 years they've done trades, right? Early on for D Rose and for Cam. But this is going to give us another good opportunity to see whether or not it's all just about CAA, which guys are going to be available with which agencies, which guys are we going to be linked to more, Tom Thibodeau connections with Bullock. If we hear the Knicks connected to Miles Turner, we know that's CAA as well. So, yeah, it's got to be a situation where it's just the best interests of the team moving ahead, right? No agency bias up in here as well. Canal, salute. Let's go. Yep. So, yeah, I'd love us to bring in some of these ones that could bring some extra playmaking and toughness, some scoring. I do like the Beasley, Trent Jr. names as well. Give us some shooting off the bench. That'd open things up. I think those two guys would be nice next to Quickly. Obviously, Cam Reddish is the most likely to want to get out of here as well. Derrick Rose will be fascinating. Let's see what happens with that. This front office got us Brunson, and that's why we're better in the league. One player made us better. We can't miss steps. Yeah. We're definitely got a clear ceiling right now with the team, fam. And we've got surplus pieces right now with Obi, with Cam, Hartenstein, all of that stuff. Yeah. Almighty says, would you trade IQ Fournier and 3 firsts for OG? The thing is, right, fam, with that said, I do like OG. I think he'd definitely help this team. It's all about, like you point, what are you giving up? With OG, right, I would start the negotiations with much less than that. See what his trade market is as well. If it built up to 3 firsts, I would say no at this point in time. I do think he's an upgrade, fam, but yeah, 3 firsts. I think those could be used. Those could be used in a bigger package, and especially the fact that you're trading IQ as well. Now, if they decide they don't want to pay IQ, I get that. Maybe try to use IQ and 1 pick, IQ and 2 picks to bring the price down. But I think IQ and 3 picks is a bit steep. Yeah, but I do hear what you're saying too, man. That's the issue with Messiah, man, as well. Messiah, he wants to fleece somebody right now. And remember, he always starts with the highest. You got to negotiate him down. Right? What's his market? What team in the league has 3 picks to give up? Right, and a player like IQ's quality to get OG. I don't think there's going to be anybody competing with that package. That's why we're hearing that kind of news that Messiah wants that kind of deal, because he's trying to see who's going to pony up first. Yeah, but I love OG. He adds toughness, and he adds some playmaking. He adds a bit of everything. Size. Yep, definitely. 2 unprotected and 1 protected. I think anytime you're parting with unprotected, it's very, very, very risky, fam. What if Toronto just start to tank? For all the hype, OG's on the struggling team, even with all NBA player and Siakam. he has to take some of the blame. Yeah, I think with Toronto, it's a bit of everything. Obviously, each player can thrive in different situations. He would complement the Knicks squad a lot better, I feel, because we're sorely missing that. I think Siakam can do a lot of what OG does, but OG on our team would definitely allow us to play different looks and not get punked. Not get punked like we did against Washington. With size, all of that. Yeah, salute Will in the nick of time, fam. Yep. Trading with Messiah is going to be tough. Yeah. Yeah, Messiah, of course he doesn't want protecteds. Yeah, that's the issue, fam. Who do you think makes a play for OG? Maybe Miami. I don't know what Miami's got available and what they could do, but definitely Miami's a team that you can never count out. Just when you think they're out, they could do whatever they please. They spare no expense. With that said, but in terms of deals, right? OG would be on the cheaper side of things than Kuzma and Levine. I think that's true. I'm not sure what current contract he's on, but I think the deal Kuzma's going to get, whatever deal Kuzma's going to sign on as, that's going to be a huge number. That's going to be 25 plus with that situation. The way Kuzma's playing right now. Yep. And the fit for a lot of teams, right? What's LA thinking? Giving up Kuzma now for Russ. Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Kuzma giving him up to get Russell Westbrook up in there as well. That backfired. Yeah, a young team like the Pels, they're going places right now. Definitely. Yeah, man, this is crazy up in this thing, right? We're still very early in the trade buzz, right? There's going to be news changing each day. Let's continue this conversation. I love it. But we'll wrap this up for tonight, right? And tomorrow, post-game, after ATL, we'll be live. We'll be there, chopping it up with the best chat in the biz. The Knicks streets are buzzing. Smash that like button right now. Because, like I said, ultimately, I think this front office is definitely going to make upgrades, right? Don't think you need to be Einstein to figure that out. But the $1 million question is, how tempted are they going to be? In terms of some of the deals that get reported aren't always facts, And I think some of these guys are going to get the urge to want to compete in an arms race right now. It's no secret the Knicks have done all the legwork. And I think it's going to be a situation where we are going to, with Mitch's injury now especially, we're going to either decide that we're comfortable falling out of the play-in or we're going to stock up, right? We're going to bolster our firearms with this situation, with shooting, with size, with playmaking. Let's get these guys some help. That makes sense for everybody up in this thing as well. I do think the Knicks lack size and toughness the most, right? Shooting wise, we know we're not a great shooting team off the bench, but we can get by, right? We could get by. We can't get by is without size and without toughness. Deuce McBride, 6'2", he's filled in admirably, but his inefficiencies, follies have come home as well. IQ's having to focus on doing way too much off the bench, right? Guys are gassed. They can't get spelled for long enough before having to come back on the court as well. It's sickening. Yep. It's sickening, right, as well. What else is sickening is that the Pels, like Will spells out, they're a minor LeBron injury away from adding one of the top picks to that situation. Yeah, absolutely. What's up, D Cool? Salute. As we get ready to wrap this thing up. Yeah, glad to see you check in with us, fam. Give us your thoughts in the comments. Replay gang out here as well. I like some of the names of these twos on the board, but not the bottom few. But yeah, I think the Knicks need some extra, experience and playmaking, and it's a wait and see right now. I want us to play more small with Mitch out. Let's get Obi in some more minutes. Let's boost his trade stock, right? Imagine that. We utilize Obi for the next 3 weeks. We play him 25 plus minutes, and a team can start to look and see what he looks like after playing more minutes at the small ball situation, right? Getting up and down, pick and rolls. Let's get Hartenstein's minutes reduced, Sims's minutes up. Let's get help and get Deuce McBride's minutes to situational. And another ball handling veteran off the bench, right? So we can get Brunson's minutes down, right? Brunson's not going to survive playing 42 plus every night, right? That's your number two asset right now. You got to protect that. That's what people also forgetting sometimes too. You got to protect the assets you got right now as well. If these guys go down, then bye-bye. Obviously, some people will be very happy, not for his health, but for the lottery draft pick situation as well, which is another big dynamic in all of this thing, fam. Which is why I'm more leaning towards right of this today. I'm leaning more towards keeping things organic, right? Let the Knicks see how far they can go. Let them flame out, but don't do anything that's going to cap us in the future, going to hamstring us with draft picks being traded too much, and forgetting about the other prize with the draft, with free agency coming up as well. Emmanuel Quickley is going to be a name that heaps of teams call upon, and let's wait and see with that, fam. But yeah, shout out to Knicks Nation, shout out to the chat, shout out to Replay Gang. The trade buzz is popping right now. Let's see what happens tomorrow night against ATL. That's going to be huge, right? They've got some turmoil of their own with that situation, John Collins, and the coaching situation as well. And I'm high on the Knicks, ability to bounce back after a few losses. I think there is toughness within this squad mentally. What I do question is physical toughness with the squad. We're undersized, and dudes are tired right now. Dudes are tired. With this schedule getting more brutal, we're ripe for the picking right now with some of these tricky matchups, coming up. And who would have thought the Miami Heat have crept up now on us, one game below. The Pacers are right on our tail as well. So 6 seed while it is, but we need to start picking up some wins if we want to stay there. That's for sure, man. Let's go. New York Knicks Nation. And we'll catch you tomorrow. Peace. Have a great evening. Salute.